Knott's Berry Farm has three major problems, and these three problems might just change Knott's Berry Farm forever. And make sure to stick around till the end, because the last problem is definitely not what you expect. So what are these problems? And why will they change Knott's Berry Farm forever? Well, let's find out. Let's start off with reason number one. Knott's Berry Farm does not have enough land. Now before you click off and say, that has nothing to do with it, let me explain. See, Knott's Berry Farm only owns 57 acres of land. For context, Kings Island owns over 350. So that is not much land to work with at all. And Knott's Berry Farm has no land for future expansion. And as you probably know, roller coasters can take up a lot of space, especially larger coasters like hypercoasters. And Knott's Berry Farm has been rumored to be getting a major attraction like a hyper or a giga coaster in the near future, but I personally don't know if that would be able to happen, because Knott's Berry Farm simply doesn't have enough space. And this also affects future investments too, because they always have to keep in the amount of space an attraction would take up, and it really limits them for what they could do for their next major attraction. And it is potentially the reason we have not seen a hyper or giga coaster come to Knott's Berry Farm. Now you might be asking yourself, why can't Knott's Berry Farm just buy more land so they can expand farther? Well, there's kind of buildings in the way, so they can't just go buying more land. So all of this means that Knott's Berry Farm is landlocked. They have fully developed the land they own, and they cannot expand any farther. And for a major amusement park like Knott's Berry Farm, being landlocked can be a huge problem. And it means you have to constantly be worried about space and whether an attraction is going to fit, and it's super annoying for theme parks. So Knott's Berry Farm is landlocked, and they can't expand outside of their existing footprint. Which leads us into problem number two. Since Knott's Berry Farm does not have any more land left, they have to remove an attraction before adding a new one. And this does not always go over too well. And no one likes to see an amusement park remove an attraction. And you know, when a theme park removes a roller coaster or something, someone's always gonna complain. It always manages to make its way into the news, and it's just not very good publicity for the park. And this creates a major problem for Knott's Berry Farm. Now they have to take into account the negative effect of removing a roller coaster and the positive effect of adding a brand new one. And it's also super frustrating for park guests to see a coaster getting removed whenever they have to build a new one. It doesn't sit well with a lot of people. See, people like new coasters, but they don't like those new coasters nearly as much when they have to lose another one to get it. For example, if Cedar Point was going to build like a 600-foot RMC T-Rex or something, people would go absolutely crazy. But if they built it right where Steel Vengeance is today and had to remove Steel Vengeance, yeah, that's gonna be a little bit of a problem. So even if Knott's Berry Farm were to build like a Giga Coaster, if they had to remove like Ghost Rider or Silver Bullet or Hang Time, people will be thankful for the new coaster, but they're not going to be happy with the park. And it's not good for a park to get into a cycle of just removing coaster after coaster. It can kind of make the park seem like it's in a little bit of trouble, even when it is perfectly fine. And not to mention that removing a roller coaster actually costs money, because you have to pay people to actually tear down the roller coaster, you gotta ship it to a scrapyard or whatever. That takes a lot of time and money. So if Knott's Berry Farm did decide to add a new coaster or whatever, they would have to remove another one, it would make people upset, and it would make the new coaster cost even more in total. And honestly, it's kind of a no-win situation all around. People aren't happy, the park has to spend more, you lose another coaster. I mean, sure, you do gain another coaster, but it's just not the same. Now let's talk about Knott's Berry Farm's third and final major problem. Knott's Berry Farm is in kind of a bad location. Let me explain. So Knott's Berry Farm is located in Buena Park, California, and the city is pretty well developed, and Knott's Berry Farm happens to be in the middle of it. So they can't buy more land because there's buildings in the way, and there is simply no land for sale near Knott's Berry Farm. But it gets even worse, because you know those buildings, there are people who actually live and work in said buildings. And those people in those buildings do not like noises from noisy theme parks like Knott's Berry Farm. I mean, every theme park is noisy, but still. And this has happened at California's Great America too, but a lot of times these people complain to the city because these attractions are just so loud. And a Giga or a Hypercoaster, the one we all want at Knott's Berry Farm, it would probably be really loud. And the city might not approve of it because it would create a lot of noise and could make a lot of people very upset with Knott's Berry Farm. So to fix this, Knott's Berry Farm would have to fill the B&M Hyper Giga or whatever, they would have to fill the track with sand. And that drives the cost up even more. And it just makes it really hard for Knott's Berry Farm to build major attractions because of the noise. I mean, take a look at Ghost Rider. You may think that like tunnel looking thing is just to add an awesome head chopper to the drop. But that is in fact there to help reduce noise of the coaster, so that the people around the park do not complain. And if Knott's Berry Farm were to build a major attraction, they would have to take a lot of noise reduction steps, such as like a tunnel on the drop or something, again driving up the cost more and more and more. And you may think Knott's Berry Farm's troubles end there, but remember, they have to compete with Six Flags Magic Mountain. Now they will not have to compete nearly as much because of the Cedar Fair and Six Flags merger, but think of all the years that they have had to be competing with arguably the most invested in Six Flags Park, which puts even more pressure on Knott's Berry Farm to build bigger, better, and longer attractions. But these three problems make it super hard for Knott's Berry Farm to do that. And I have a feeling that these problems probably have shelved some major coasters from coming to Knott's Berry Farm. And maybe, just maybe, a Giga Coaster. But all hope is not lost, because Knott's Berry Farm has continued to work around these problems for many years. And they will continue to do so. And these challenges could lead to some super creative attractions coming our way in the next couple years. And I'm super excited to see what Knott's Berry Farm is able to do in the coming years. And we should all keep our fingers crossed for a Giga. But I think we'll have to wait and see if that really happens. Those are the three major problems that Knott's Berry Farm has. But I have faith that Knott's Berry Farm will continue to thrive even though they have these problems. And they have done so for many years. And if you enjoyed the video, then drop a like down below because it is a great way to say thank you. And if you enjoyed the video, then a sub to the channel would be fantastic. And if you want to know why Cedar Fair and Intamin do not like each other, then check out the video on your screen right now. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.